Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first budget season of the 26-27 school year. Is that right? Good evening. I'm going to turn it. Who's making the first budget presentation? PFM. Hi, Jamie.
It's actually Melissa today, but that's okay.
Okay. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Jennifer. If it's okay, I'm going to share my screen. And I think just to kick it off, I have a generally positive message today. So that's great.
Yay.
Always a good, always a good place to start. Yes. Yep. So sorry. Here we go. William Penn. There we go. Overall, let's start with the interest rate environment. This is the tax-exempt index at which the school district borrows money. And what we take away from this top graph is that the red line is the 30-year historic average, and the blue line is the rate at which we borrow. And so, generally speaking, what we should take away from this is that current rates are just slightly below historic averages, which is excellent. And getting a little bit more granular, over the course of the last year, since the district borrowed last, rates have went up a little bit and then they have come down. So all else being equal, rates today are a little bit lower than the last time we borrowed. And that's good. Part of the way the district has approached financing has allowed you to access the market at different points in time to get kind of a blended average interest rate, but we always love when rates come down a little bit. Just want to do a little bit of a reminder about the kinds of borrowings you've done, because you've done a bunch of types over the last couple of years. You've done short-term cash flow borrowings, like trans. You have one of those outstanding that will need to be paid off by June 30th. You've done long-term cash flow borrowings, which is the lease sublease structure through the William Penn School District Authority. That's what we did last February. And you've done long-term capital borrowings. Long-term capital borrowings is most of what you've done historically, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So big picture, whenever we do a long-term capital borrowing, the key questions we need to be answered are, how much do we need to borrow and when do we need to borrow it? There's a couple of variables that are still under discussion to figure that out exactly, like the super precise answer, but the district has done a good job, and Darnell has done a good job of honing in on a lot of answers for us. So this is just a little reconciliation. It's a simplified version of that draw schedule that we've looked at previously, just fitting it all on one page. This is the total project cost for each of the projects, the financed projects. And then the next column is the actual amount that you've spent to date. And then there's just a kind of checklist here about whether the project is completed or not. So you can just easily look down and see which ones are done and which ones are not. So you can see you've spent.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You can
No,
finish,
that's okay.
but I want to stop on this page if we may.
Yep. No, now it's fine.
Okay. Do you have the cost of the TRAN interest?
I don't have it in this presentation. I could follow up for you.
Great. And the anticipated grants of 23 million, do we have the big buckets of what those are?
Yes, and I can go through it broadly for you.
Okay.
Big picture, it's roughly $12.6 million of your ARP ESSERs that was spent. It's the $8 million Department of Energy grant, and then it's smaller grants from the state.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
What it does not contain in that $23.6 million number is the $7 million Kerrfield RACP that we've been holding out. And so a big part of the positive presentation is the administration has done a good job of kind of getting to the finish line here As of when we talked last week, I don't think you'd received the money yet, but we're comfortable at this point building it back into the plan.
Great,
Okay.
awesome.
So that's
Yeah,
really positive.
thank you. That's awesome. Love positive news.
Yes. Yes.
Do any other school board directors have some questions on this page?
I have a couple more points I'd like to point
Okay,
out,
great.
if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've spent 42.7 to date, you've borrowed 42.9. So you've spent and borrowed about the same amount, but you've gotten grant funds in there, okay, in the interim. And some of these grants are anticipated, meaning you haven't got them in the doors yet, particularly the energy one. You have to meet certain milestones in order to get the awards for that one. So you have about $12.8 million of funds on hand. And what that tells us behind the scenes is that you're actually spending on the projects a little bit more slowly than we had anticipated. And what that means is we can probably borrow the next tranche of funds in 2026 a month or two slower than we had originally anticipated, which is good news. If you borrow a little bit slower, you'll pay a little bit less interest over the life, all generally positive things. You may also have an additional $1 million RACP award, which we are not including in the project because, again, it's like the $7 million was. You have the award, but you need to get further along in the process before we can count on it being available to spend out the door, because RACP is a reimbursement grant. Okay. So we estimate that the maximum need is about $13.3 million, and we think that that's on the high side. Because a little bit of this grant reconciliation, and then also has borrowed money, you've earned interest on those borrowed funds. And we can use that to reduce the amount of the final borrowing, okay? And we're still doing a little bit of due diligence on what that final number is, but I want you to think of that 13.3 as a ceiling, not a floor. But that's the number we're going to focus on for these discussion purposes, because we have a little bit of time between now and when you actually borrow the money. This is just a reminder about the federal tax laws. You have to spend 85% of the proceeds within 3 years, and you have to have within 6 months of settlement a substantial binding obligation to spend 5% of the proceeds. And finally, you have to proceed with due diligence to do the project. This is the district's existing debt portfolio if you did nothing today. So column 26 is the local effort. Okay. So you can see if you did nothing from the current budget year to next budget year, from 26 to 27, your debt service is going to have what I would call a meaningful increase. Okay. And then you'll be pretty level till you drop off. Okay. You have call dates out here in the future. We are monitoring those, and we will be in touch if you have any opportunity to save any money through lowering your debt service costs. But right now, do nothing is the right answer.
So Melissa, excuse me, can you go back to that page for a second that you were just on? And when you highlighted the increase for next year, what I hear you also saying is that that's the amount that we would be budgeting for the 26-27 fiscal year, because that will be an expense to us to deal with debt service. That is correct, right?
That's correct. And let's go to the next page and pull on that idea a little bit more.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. You guys know how these presentations go.
I just wanted to make sure that for those people who are not here or those people who are watching, I just wanted to say it in another way to make sure that they understood what the implication of that.
Yep. So this is the summary page that we've looked at a lot of times now. You remember last year we condensed steps 1 to 3 into the single column in the green. The black is what it looked like before we did any projects. You know, that was the original status quo. We added the green on between 21, 22, 23. The blue and the yellow are the borrowings we did last year. So column 13 matches up to that column that you asked about on the previous page, Dr. B. Coates. So
Okay.
here's that $5.5 million number, and here's the 6.3. Okay, so that's how it corresponds. But we also know that you need another borrowing, and we think it's just one borrowing instead of two. If we looked at this last year, it had 2 steps on here, but it's shrunken enough to make economic sense to just do one borrowing. And that's why we're, being a little careful saying we think 13.3 is the ceiling. We got to do a little reconciliation because there's time between now and then and how much interest earnings. We don't want to borrow more than you need. Okay. Because then it makes the debt service impact harder. So you're going to need that 6.3 plus some amount. Okay. So I would say roughly $7 million in order to pay for the final step of the borrowing. Okay. So from a budget perspective, it's column 15 that you need. So what does that mean in dollars? It means in dollars compared to last year, for the 26-27 year, you're going to need $1.4 million more than is in the budget this year. Okay. And then 27-28, we're pretty much done getting the debt service in the budget. Okay. And that's how this ties in. Yes.
When you, Jennifer, please.
Jennifer.
When you say getting rid of the debt service, is that upfront cost? What is that?
Getting rid of the debt service. Oh, getting the debt service in the budget, just accommodating it within the budget.
But it goes away in the budget, right?
No, it doesn't go away. It just means that you don't need extra additional capacity.
Mhm.
It means you found the capacity, and then you just kind of keep it the same.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I was not looking at 14-15. Thanks.
No, that's okay. I'm like, no, you can't take it away. You'll have a problem.
So Melissa, I do have another question.
Yes.
Does this factor in right now the $7 million that we're getting from RACB?
Yes.
Okay, it does. All right. So this will be, I'll catch you. Okay, thanks.
Yep, because we feel comfortable now that you're at the 11th hour, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
If you were comparing this to last year, the financing that we're illustrating is just one step instead of two. It's about $7 million less, and it's a little bit shorter because it's less. We don't need to finance it over as long a period of time. And financing it over a longer period of time doesn't help your budget in a meaningful way. It just causes you to pay more interest because the total amount we're borrowing is lower. So we're preserving that later flexibility for you to use in the future.
And Melissa, this also has the opportunity to go down even more once we can get the additional $1 million in, or any additional grants that we may obtain given the new opportunities in the state budget.
Yep.
Got it.
There will be a date certain beyond which, like, it can't go down anymore. We'll just have to do the borrowing. And so this assumes that you need to receive the money in your account in March, which means we would come back in January and give an update presentation, which I would assume would look very similar to this, but we would hone in on this amount, this $13.3 million amount, a little bit more, because there's time between now and then. We would give an update. You would authorize the financing team to proceed if the board was so inclined. And then in February, you could consider the parameters resolution, and then we would borrow money kind of at the appropriate time. And then it takes 35 days for the money to show up.
And I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So Melissa, this is assuming the projects that you highlighted earlier, and the project for the high school is not the renovation or new build. It is just what has happened so far to the high school. So just want to get everyone understanding that we're looking at this particular chart that you're showing now, where the high school project has only, accrued about $1.5 million worth of
Yep.
costs.
Just
Not-
the design costs that you guys had paid out.
Correct. Okay. And then the tax implication is that once it stabilizes, we don't have to raise any to maintain the need in our budget.
Yep.
Okay.
You just have to maintain the capacity.
Correct.
So the good news is everything should look better than when we last looked at this a little bit less than a year ago. The caveat to that is next year will still be challenging, right? And you can't lose sight of that. Okay, you still, 2027 still has a meaningful change in debt service.
And Melissa, the increase in millage here is just to accommodate in terms of numerical, in terms of the debt, what we need.
Yes.
That doesn't mean what we need in the budget in terms of can we cover it or not. It's just what we need to ensure that we cover what we need to cover.
Yes, we always call it millage equivalent because all we're doing is we're translating the dollars into what that means in mills. And then it's the board's discretion on how to actually find that in the budget. But we're translating it into, I'll call it a common unit of measure.
Understood.
If it were. Yep.
Thank you.
Do folks have any other questions? Big picture, the point of this presentation was to update folks on where we are, what's changed, so that when we come chat in January, you're not surprised when we're like, it's one step instead of two, it's smaller, it's shorter.
We appreciate that, Melissa, and appreciate you being here this evening.
Of course, anytime.
And Melissa, I have one other question. I'm sorry, before you go. The terms, they seem to vary. Is that normal or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's because you're financing different projects that have different useful lives.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think any two of yours are the same. So, all right. Appreciate being here tonight and wish you the best on the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa.
Miss, if I get this wrong, I apologize. Ms. Lasky?
Lasky, yes.
Awesome. You're up.
Okay, good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Debbie Maslowski. I'm here at the district as the CFO. I'm just going to go through our budget, starting with our revenues. Looking at the first column, this is our approved budget through PDE. And the second column is our year-to-date receivables that we've received so far. On our real estate revenues, we've collected 90% so far, which is good. And the only state revenue that we've received so far is the state property tax reduction. And that was in a different bucket of money through the state that was not held up with the budget. We're looking at our new budget amounts now that we have a budget 134 days later. We did receive $5.1 million more in basic ed funding and $121,000 in special ed funding. When we look at the expenditures, again, the same concept. First column is the approved budget through the state. Our expenditures through the 14th of November and our projected expenditures. If you note on the expenditure side, our 500s have increased by approximately $2 million due to the PDE, the state budget and the approval. Cyber charter school.
Excuse
I'm
me,
sorry.
Miss, can you
Yeah.
enlarge those numbers? Can you enlarge that page, please?
One moment.
Thank you.
Mhm. That a little better for you?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So the original expenditure budget was based on the governor's proposed budget addressed back last year and recommended that the school districts should budget cyber charter schools tuition expenses at a flat rate of $8,000 per student. And that's we went with the recommendation of the governor. And unfortunately, the House and the Senate voted against any cyber charter reform at the time of the budget. So they're working diligently to come up with a new, what they call PDE 363, to change the tuition process for cyber charter schools, which is different than brick and mortar charter schools. So again, the third column for the 25-26 projected expenses is an increase of $2 million. And that's really my update. Yes.
May I ask a question? The 560 line, is that just charter schools?
Yes, we pulled that out so you can just see what the charter school tuition costs are per year.
And when they do the reform that they did to cybers, although not what we asked, how much do we estimate that will save from that 23 million number?
They're actually working on the formula now. They said news to come in the next few weeks.
Your budget's
Unfortunately.
135 days late, and we'll give you one of the numbers when we get it.
Right.
That's so crazy. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. All right. Well, thank you. Anyone have any questions at all?
I do. I just want to clarify, Ms. Moslowski. Thank you for sharing this information. Is it correct that I see that we are at a surplus down there at the bottom?
Yeah, I don't think it's all the way. You can't see it. It's a small surplus. But again, with the charter school reform, we really don't know where the charter school tuitions will land.
Understood. But currently, under what we assume and what numbers we have, we currently are at a surplus.
Correct.
Okay, small one, but a surplus.
I would encourage board members and all of us not to look at it that way, although I know that that's what the number says. As we know that we have significant debt. We don't know what's going to happen between now and next June the 30th. And the likelihood of us having a budget by June 30th is probably not going to be likely for 26, 27. So I'm encouraging and planning to make sure that those dollars are there so that we can deal with the uncertainty that we know that we're going to be facing probably in about 6 months. And I'm just, and I know no one was saying we should do something with it, but I do want to go on record as just saying that because, you know, I've been asked already, what are you going to do with the extra money? And I just don't want people to leave the conversation thinking that we have extra money.
No, I understand. And, you know, it's just many budgets, when we get the numbers from the state, we always end up very close to either, somewhere where we don't want to be.
Yep.
But
May I ask a
understand.
question?
Thank you.
Ms. Llewellyn, do you have a question? I see you shaking your head now. Does this include the extra in quotes, $5 million that we were,
Yes, it's
So
in the third column, the increase, if you look at the 7111 basic ed funding,
yeah,
basic ed, if you go from left to right, you'll see that it's what we originally budgeted, the 35 million, and now it's
Right.
40 million. But I
So
also,
with that-
in
with-
the expenditures, we do have the $2 million of additional cyber charter school expenditures
right.
listed.
So without that extra air quotes $5 million, we were flat at 35 million?
We had a balanced budget. 135 million was a balanced
No.
budget.
I meant the budgeted number in the first column. Right, so without that extra 5 million, we would have been at 35 million for our BEF.
Correct.
And what was that number last year? Right, I'm trying to judge how much of an increase we would have had without the 5 million. Because it truly does not feel like extra.
I can let you know what that is.
Great. And what did they put the adequacy money under?
It's in the
Ready to
basic ed.
learn.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
basic, yep.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. Thank you, sorry. Anyone else? Next.
Oh, well, Jennifer, when you
Yeah.
said that's the lawsuit we're talking about, where is that under?
Yeah,
Adequacy. Ready to learn grant
7533.
adequacy.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, here we have the proposed budget calendar. So on Monday, we will be doing the vote to propose the preliminary budget, not to exceed the Act 1 index, which is 5.1 this year. I mean, sorry, 5.2. And this is kind of following traditionally how the budget process has gone. We will start meeting in, is it February and March? Nope. March, April. I'm sorry, February. Yeah, February through May. The
Yep.
Budget Advisory Committee will start meeting. Plan on doing the proposed final budget in May and final adoption in June.
and we'll be moving that to June 30th.
Just note on that, so of course, you know that with that, we cannot start the process of the tax bills until that
Correct,
millage is.
Yeah,
correct.
and we've done that for the last 2 years, and we've just communicated to the public, that tax bills will be coming out a little bit later. I believe for the last 2 years, they've come out around the 15th or 17th of July, somewhere in that window of time. Now, if we have a budget from the state, then we'll probably be able to move that date up.
We would love to. Miss Lewis, you have your hand raised? Can we unmute Miss Lewis, please?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I did place my question in the Q&A. However, all right, so we are in dire need of supports in our school buildings, in my building in particular. My question is that are we going to be able to get the supports that we desperately need?
Ms. Lewis, I'm going to ask that we discuss that offline.
Yes, sir.
We did just meet with principals today, so if there's
Okay.
something different than what we've discussed with principals, we would need to know that. But let's discuss that offline, and I will definitely we'll follow up with you tomorrow. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Anyone else have some questions? I'm sorry, Miss Lewis, I didn't see you in the Q&A. We will now do a quick commercial for our Budget Advisory Committee. If you know anyone that would like to participate in this process with us. We are seeking residents to follow along while we make our budget and have very real input into our budgeting process. School board directors, you may recommend 2 people and from your precincts, and that would be great. But that's all. If you don't recommend, I will call.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
All right, take care.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.